Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the graduation ceremony of the graduates of the Faculties of Asian and International Studies, Commerce and Administration, Education, Environmental Sciences, Health and Behavioural Sciences, Humanities and Science and Technology, and also the Graduate School of Management. In a few minutes, the graduation ceremony will commence. The procession of staff will enter first. After a brief pause, the university fanfares will announce the entry of the dais party. I will signal to you that you are to rise and remain standing until both the staff procession and the dais party are seated. Please do not stand until I ask you to. May I also remind you that flash photography is prohibited in this auditorium. For the mutual comfort and enjoyment of all members of the audience, the university requests your cooperation in observing this rule.
fellow members of the Council of Griffith University, colleague from the Supreme Court, Justice Margaret White, Vice-Chancellor of Griffith University, Professor Roy Webb, past members of Council, His Excellency the Korean Ambassador, Mr. Byung-Hwan Kwon and Mrs. Kwon, special guest, Dr. Germaine Greer, staff and students of the university, ladies and gentlemen. As Chancellor of Griffith University, it gives me great pleasure to welcome all who are present at this evening's graduation ceremony. The conferral of an academic award is a high point in the life of a student. The way can be hard and long for an undergraduate, and sacrifices are involved. However, there are many compensations, and in the end, success in the studies undertaken brings an entitlement to pass into the world of graduates with a new lifetime status. The importance of a graduation ceremony lies in the public recognition of individual achievement. The whole university joins with the families and friends of tonight's graduates in offering warm congratulations and in expressing pleasure at the outcome for each of them. The university is deeply involved with its students in their achievements. This evening I extend a special welcome to our guest, Dr. Germaine Greer. To honour Dr. Greer's distinguished contributions to scholarship and to the range of modern thought, Griffith University will bestow on her its degree of Doctor of the University. We are delighted that she's able to join this event, and we look forward to her address later in the proceedings. 1996 is Griffith University's 25th year. Throughout this anniversary year, members of the university community have been reflecting on Griffith's past and joining together in celebration of what has been accomplished. Over this past week, we've been much involved in this way. Last Saturday, coinciding with a meeting of the Australian Vice-Chancellors Committee in Brisbane, a large function was held to mark the anniversary. And then on Monday, another outstanding occasion included an impressive academic ceremony and the conferral of our honorary degree on 4 eminent achievers. On Thursday, we met again for the formal opening by the Premier of the fine new headquarters of our college, the Queensland Conservatorium of Music, on Brisbane's South Bank. You will see that Griffith University, now a multi-campus institution, has many achievements to celebrate in one or other of its aspects. We've been pleased and encouraged by the extent of participation in these events by the academic community and many residents and well-wishers in the southeast corner of our state. Tonight's ceremony accordingly falls into place as part of a very important week for our university. Since its establishment in 1971, Griffith University has adopted an ambitious charter characterised by an innovative and progressive outlook. The university enjoys an international reputation for the individual path it has taken in higher education. Over the years, it has added to its repertoire a broad range of traditional studies in areas like law, engineering, science, and humanities. And today, Griffith meets the needs of the community across a wide array of teaching and research activities. The range of our graduates tonight indicates the breadth of those activities. We shall be presenting awards to graduates from the Faculties of Asian and International Studies, Commerce and Administration, Education, Environmental Science, Health and Behavioural Sciences, Humanities, Science and Technology, and the Graduate School of Management. With so many faculties represented, it's not possible to offer any substantial survey of their recent achievements. so I shall content myself with mentioning just some particularly significant matters. The Australian Centre for Korean Studies has been recently established in the Faculty of Asian and International Studies, and it provides a new focus for teaching and research in this area of endeavour. It also provides links with the Korean community in Australia. There have been a number of new undergraduate and postgraduate courses. The university's first professional doctoral degree, the Doctor of Philosophy in Clinical Psychology, was introduced this year. The Faculty of Commerce and Administration has developed a teaching program in conjunction with a Malaysian institution and offers an undergraduate degree through a combination of offshore and on-campus enrolment. The Faculty of Asian and International Studies has recently formalised arrangements with Thai universities, as a result of which students will be able to spend a year in Thailand undertaking intensive language studies. All of the faculties represented tonight are using the latest in communication technology to develop subjects and courses for flexible delivery and meet the needs of students unable to attend for study in the more conventional on-campus lecture format. In this respect, we are responding to the dynamic market in which we now operate. The development of these programs has been proceeding in collaboration with professional organisations and commerce and industry. We're concerned to ensure that our graduates can meet the demands of employment and conform with what is needed for professional registration. Let me return now to our students who are to receive their awards this evening. They have shown their capacity and are now in possession of significant skills. It's expected that they will undertake successful careers. It's true, however, that career paths in the 1990s are becoming more challenging and complex. Many graduates now return to university for further study to enhance their range of accomplishments. Some of you graduating tonight may return to study in the years to come and be welcomed back to the Griffith community. Tonight, each of you will join an impressive body of Griffith graduates who have already made names for themselves. We trust that you will do equally well. As we continue with our proceedings, I again express warm congratulations to each of you and extend our best wishes for your future. I now call on the deans to present the graduates from their respective faculties who are to receive their awards at this ceremony.
Chancellor, the Dean of the Faculty of Asian and International Studies.
Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Arts in Modern Asian Studies. Barbara Constantinou. Emma Costello. Belinda Hall. Susan Henderson. Michelle Hawking. Seiko Emma Foucault. Naomi Jesser. Hayden Majajas. Cassandra McCarthy. Ria Mongsunti. Robin O'Loughlin. Melissa O'Neill. Sandra Robertson. Darryl Scott. Nicole Taylor. Rosemary Townley. Amanda Weedman. Darren Wright. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Bachelor of Arts, Third Class Honours in Modern Asian Studies, Lambros Helios. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of International Business, Wayne Bartlett. Colleen Benson. Fiona Birkin. Ian Bitsley. Catherine Chapman. Sangeeta Das. Sherry Davis. Jason Dorman. Kevin Sue. Alex Louis. Paul Luke. Brad McCosker. Andrew Mitchell. Absalom Nega. Lisa Plumridge. Peter Redding. Taro Squires. Dale Stanley Hunt. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Graduate Diploma of Chinese Language, Robin O'Loughlin. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Graduate Diploma of Indonesian Language, Peter Redding. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Graduate Diploma of Japanese Language, Belinda Hall. Hayden Majajas. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Graduate Diploma of Korean Language, Fiona Birkin. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Master of Arts in International Studies. Mary Grosseholt, Kenneth Bennett, Alisa Isbell, Oki Nomura, Nikki Walls, Yoko Yokoyama, Chancellor, that concludes the presentation of graduates of the Faculty of Asian and International Studies.
Chancellor, the Dean of the Faculty of Commerce and Administration.
Chancellor, I present graduates who've been granted the Bachelor of Commerce. Tammy Askett, Wendy Bailey, Angela Baldo, Andrew Bark, Daniel Barker, Nikki Bolch, Michael Bennett, Jody Bobbermine, Paul Boothman, Carolyn Bramhall, Helen Buckman, Matthew Butler, Brett Cameron, Dean Cameron, Carol Campbell, Jonathan Case, Yiju Chan, Janelle Chocano, Jason Cronin, Sally Chula, Brett Fakuri, Netta Finney, Suyin Fu, Lorraine Fox, Melinda Gibson, Leanne Gordon, Mark Gretwick, Ian Hamilton, Sharon Hester, Glenn Ho, Casey Hugh, Renee Hunter, Michael Hutchinson, Jacob Ives, Mark Jameson, James Johnson, Alex Jones, Karen Jones, Atsushi Kawahara, Sally Rodwin Kennedy, Yingchen Kuo, Peter Lambert, John Lane, Stephen Larkin, Yun Sing Lee, Graham Legg, Selena Liao, Andrew Lim, Josephine Lim, Julie Llewellyn, Nicole Lowe, Ian Main, Conrad Martin, Jackie McCarthy, Margot McClay, Craig McLean, Anne Marr, Peter Moon, Bonnie Morrison, Sean Moen, Angela Muller, Artie Nair, Shalishni Nair, Joanne Ng, Justina No, Zena Niven, Rupal Patel, Lorraine Pearson, Paul Pickford, Helen Ramsey, Cole Robertson, Teresa Ross, John Rutledge, Greg Salmon, Fung Yi Shek, John Simpson, Ditendra Singh, Simon Smith, Vicky Stagg, Tonglin Tan, Saori Tanai, Maria Tadusho, Samantha Thompson, Philip Tiffin, Zora Todorovic, Jonathan Tone, Randy Tran, Shanae Tuttle, Andrew Watt, Wendy Hugh, Sandra Yao, Anne Yules, Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Commerce with First Class Honours. Linda Colley, Lee Poynton, Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Bachelor of Commerce with Second Class Honours, Division B, Dennis Hulse. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Graduate Diploma of Business Computing and Information Systems, Milkeet Singh. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Graduate Diploma of Economics, Bryce Lloyd. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Graduate Diploma of Human Resource Management and Industrial Relations, Kathleen Lyons. Nerida Powell. Job Wamsey. Chancellor, I present a graduate who's been granted the Master of Information Systems, Kumarin Senthewal. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Master of Professional Accounting, Jasmine Guan. Jeanette Risby. Chancellor, that concludes the presentation of graduates of the Faculty of Commerce and Administration.
Chancellor, the Director of the Graduate School of Management.
Chancellor, I present graduates who've been granted the degree of Master of Business Administration. Gordon Bailey. Sam Branjaporn. Colin Brunies. Scott Burton. Mark Fenton. Jennifer Ferguson. Bruce Gilbert. Daryl Harbottle. Daphne Coe. Catherine Maddox. Andrew Neary. Peter Pierre. Somsiri Sate. S. Sathanananthan. Kufeng Shan. Priyan Ook Sri Pinyo. Sunny Sri Pra Serchwong. Jaruwan Sri Sur Apol. Chin Lang Tang. Pradeep Uni. Brad Waters. Amy Yang. Chancellor, that concludes the presentation of graduates of the Graduate School of Management.
Chancellor, the Dean of the Faculty of Education.
Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Associate Diploma of Vocational Instruction. I present a graduate who has been granted the Associate Diploma of Human Resource Development, Jan Tiley. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Associate Diploma of Vocational Instruction, Anne-Louise Johnston. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Adult and Vocational Teaching, Carolyn Allen. Maria Carter. Stephen Duncan. Joanne French. Ada Holtz. Anne-Louise Johnston. Robert Martin. Patricia O'Malley. Om Prakarja. Natalie Woodhead. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Arts. David Hodgson. Andrew Lowe. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Education. Suzanne Baker. Michael Boyle. Inez Burgess. Susan Fuchs. Karen Frost. Abigail Hull. Alison James. Zinta Lindemanis. Simone Mason. Gillian Neitz. Ashley Pittman. Jackie Power. Joanne Sargent. Kim Staley-Biggs. Suzanne Tierney. Fishiar Torbo. Leslie Verbakel. Leanne Wilson. Robert Wright. Helen Yench. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Teaching. Tiffany Cox. Robin Edwards. Belinda Fairweather. Glenn Perrin. Faye Rollings. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Master of Arts in Applied Linguistics, Helma Leach. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Master of Education, Joseph Crawford. Patricia Edgar. Chancellor, that concludes the presentation of graduates of the Faculty of Education.
Chancellor, the Acting Dean of the Faculty of Environmental Sciences.
Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Environmental Engineering. Travis Harding. Jeremy Wicks. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted Bachelor of Science in Applied Mathematics and Statistics. Robert Calandra. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted Bachelor of Science in Australian Environmental Studies. Adam Beck. Ewan Bell. Peter Black. Adriana Bramley. Gerald Broom. Jacqueline Deary. Jeffrey Ferrant. Matthew Ferguson. Bruno Grimel. Kelly Harris. Karen Jones. Helen Kerr. Guy Lane. Dinah Maturinic Smith. Melissa McBride. Kenneth McCall. Ginny McKillop. Kylie McLaughlin. Jane Morton. Karen Murphy. Natalie O'Connell. John Phillips. Sonia Schmidt. Kevin Short. Kerry Stefan. Helena Van Every. Morgan Williams. Jonathan Wills. Benjamin Window. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted Bachelor of Science with First Class Honours in Australian Environmental Studies. Stuart Cole. Thea Picton. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted Bachelor of Science with Second Class Honours Division A in Australian Environmental Studies, Craig Jones. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted Bachelor of Science in Australian Environmental Studies with Japanese, David Fitzgibbon. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Graduate Diploma of Sustainable Land Management, Murray Allen. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted Master of Environmental Education, Joy Hardy. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted Master of Engineering Science in Waste Management, Robert Kijak. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted Master of Science, Master of Environmental and Community Health, Ignatius Chan. Rina Yang. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted Master of Science in Environmental Management, Augusto Chiratsu. Catherine Houston. Chancellor, that concludes the presentation of graduates of the Faculty of Environmental Sciences.
Ladies and gentlemen, before the presentation of the next group of graduates, there will now be a brief musical interlude. In their debut performance, the Griffith University Chorus.
Chancellor, the Dean of the Faculty of Health and Behavioural Sciences.
Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Arts in Leisure Management. Wendy Black. Ainsley Hale. Doug Innes. Samira Innes. Suzanne Langford. Jenny Lovett. Kelly McKellar. Justin Rebo de Brezak. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Behavioural Science. Braden Abelard. Mari Barrett. Joseph Dietz Kibram. Helen Dyer. Nicole Freeney. Lynette Coleman. Jeffrey McLennan. Bernadette Manchester. Anne Smith. Judith Sutton. Kay Walsh. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Bachelor of Behavioural Science with second class honours Division A in Psychology, Amanda Thomas. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Nursing, Joanna Dowse. Lisa Doyle. Gillian Fraser. Mary Horgan. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Graduate Diploma of Leisure Management. David Foster. Harry Wong. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Graduate Diploma of Mental Health Nursing. James Saunders. Tracy Stanley. Lynn Taylor. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Graduate Diploma of Rehabilitation, Vicky Pickering. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Master of Arts in Outdoor Education, Glenn Beckett. Peter McKenna. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Master of Clinical Psychology, Shirin Campbell. Kerry Pavia. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Master of Midwifery, Jocelyn Toohill. Chancellor, that concludes the presentation of graduates of the Faculty of Health and Behavioural Sciences.
Chancellor, the Dean of the Faculty of Humanities.
Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Bachelor of Arts, Robin Sopper. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Arts in Australian and Comparative Studies. Gary Camplin. Peter Conway. Sue Ellen Cowley. Helen O'Leary. Janelle Parrish. Ray Reese. Cecilia Taylor. Nola Vary. Christopher Welsh. Sharon Wright. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Bachelor of Arts in Contemporary European Studies, Maureen Poihipi. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Arts in Humanities, Nadine Allen. Jason Bingham. Andrew Cunningham. John Dee. Margaret Eckerberg. Franco Filippetto. Kerry Galen. Lorraine Gladish. Bronwyn Gents. Kay Martin. Tracy Page. Pauline Rigby. Kurt Schubert. Margaret Van Bremen. Isaac White. Christine Willey. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Arts with first-class honours in humanities. Rebecca Langlands. Anna Latsias. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Bachelor of Arts with second-class honours Division A in Humanities, Shane Robertson. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Arts in Justice Administration. Stacey Bridge. David Ellis. Peter Hewins. Angelique Mulhall. Stephen Monroe. Grant Newman. Natalie Paget. Brendan Queenan. Shalini Singh. Anthony Sin. Kerry Smith. Robert Walker. Michelle Young. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Master of Arts in Applied Ethics. Greg Brown. Kashonia Carnegie. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Master of Arts in Film and Television Studies. Heidi Rexer. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Master of Arts in Women's Studies. Moira McGuinness. Chancellor, that concludes the presentation of graduates of the Faculty of Humanities.
Chancellor, the Dean of the Faculty of Science and Technology.
Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Bachelor of Biomedical Science, Anita Stevenson. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Bachelor of Biomedical Science with First Class Honours, Mandy Heritage. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Bachelor of Engineering in Microelectronic Engineering with First Class Honours, Conrad Sanderson. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Bachelor of Engineering in Microelectronic Engineering with Second Class Honours Division A, Sean Baxendale. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Information Technology, Angel Alfaro. Matthew Hannay. Michael Hayes. Kerry Latzius. Hong Mak. Daniel McKinnon. James Montgomery. Terry Mumford. Andrew Philp. Craig Smith. Damien Smith. Paul Stacey. Robert Tappenden. Andre Villava. Catherine Weller. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Science. Marilyn Burt. Marcus Brooks. Carla Campbell. Erin Chandler. Peter Clark. Scott Coleman. Vicky George. Samantha Granato. Lee Grayson. Nicole Griffin. Adam Mannering. Brett O'Ryan. Matthew Salter. Leanne Skelly. Hayley Smith. Leonie Stark. Peter Teal. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Science with First Class Honours. Damon Curran. Gregory Watson. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Bachelor of Science with Aviation. Sean Roberts. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Bachelor of Technology with Aviation. Harley Dalton. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Graduate Diploma of Clinical Biochemistry. Russell Callahan. Nicole Judd. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Graduate Diploma of Clinical Microbiology. Anita Bayfield. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Graduate Diploma of Clinical Physiology. Nick Dalziel. Irene Hussain. Donald Smith. Chancellor, that concludes the presentation of graduates of the Faculty of Science and Technology.
Chancellor, the Chair, the Academic Committee, Professor George Kearney, will now present a candidate for the award of the University Medal. This will be followed by the presentation of graduates who have been granted the degrees of Master of Philosophy and Doctor of Philosophy.
Chancellor, the University Medal may be awarded to a graduate who has completed the requirements for both a bachelor's degree of the university and a degree with honours in recognition of academic excellence. Chancellor, I'm pleased to present a graduate of the Faculty of Humanities who has been granted the 1996 University Medal, Anna Fotis Latzius. Chancellor, tonight the University is proud to honour 3 graduates who have satisfied the rigorous criteria for the award of the degree of Master of Philosophy. Chancellor, the first graduate has been granted the degree of Master of Philosophy taken in the Faculty of Commerce and Administration. The title of Desley Francis Sands' thesis is the relationship between the communication of financial information and its usefulness to loan officers for decision-making in a loan context. Chancellor, I present Desley Sands. Chancellor, the second graduate has been granted the degree of Master of Philosophy taken in the Faculty of Environmental Sciences. The title of Butian Wang's thesis is Regional Streamflow Response to Land Use Change, a test of multiple regression method for the South Moreton region of Queensland. Chancellor, I present Butian Wang. Chancellor, the third graduate has been granted the degree of Master of Philosophy taken in the Faculty of Science and Technology. Ringo Chan studied the response properties of nanostructures. Chancellor, tonight the University is proud to honour its Doctor of Philosophy graduates who have satisfied the rigorous criteria for the award of the degree. Chancellor, the first graduates have been granted the degree of Doctor of Philosophy taken in the Faculty of Asian and International Studies. Dr. Jerry Arend van Klinken's thesis examined different ways in which Indonesian Christian leaders sought new legitimacy within modern Indonesia. Dr. Zun Kui Dong's study shows that government policies and economic forces were significant in the transformation of the Pearl River Delta region of southern China. Chancellor, I present Dr. Zun Kui Dong. Chancellor, the following graduates have been granted the degree of Doctor of Philosophy taken in the Faculty of Commerce and Administration. Dr. Douglas James Brandon studied an increasingly serious problem in the churches around the world, role stress amongst ministers and their difficulties in defining their vocational identity. Chancellor, I present Dr. Douglas James Brandon. Dr. Deborah Patricia Harker analysed the advertising self-regulation process in Australia, focusing on the Advertising Standards Council. Dr. Harker found that the council is controlled by the very industry it was established to regulate, raising significant questions as to its overall effectiveness. Chancellor, I present Dr. Deborah Patricia Harker. Dr. Glenda Joanne McConaughey's study found that the closer, more involved relationships were being required of public servants. This gave more subtle control but created health problems for those who continually expressed non-genuine feelings towards their clients. Chancellor, I present Glenda Joanne McConaughey. Dr. Christine Ryan's thesis concludes that the political climate of the early 1990s and the inclusion of the accounting profession in the reform process provided the conditions for the change and the standardisation of public sector financial reporting policies throughout Australia. Chancellor, I present Dr. Christine Ryan. Chancellor, the following graduate has been granted the degree of Doctor of Philosophy taken in the Faculty of Education. Dr. Graham Alexander Nicholson studied the frequency of words, the grammatical features and the conceptual cultural aspects of almost 2 million words taken from Queensland secondary school textbooks. Chancellor, I present Dr. Graham Alexander Nicholson. Chancellor, the following graduates have been granted the degree of Doctor of Philosophy taken in the Faculty of Environmental Sciences. Dr. Mark Francis Carden has provided an examination of the ways in which development and environmental policy interact in the sugarcane industry in Queensland. Chancellor, I present Dr. Mark Francis Carden. Dr. Laurie Kiefert's thesis provides valuable new information on the physical, mineralogical and chemical aspects of suspended and deposited dusts caused by wind erosion throughout eastern Australia. Chancellor, I present Dr. Laurie Kiefert. Dr. Karen Lunny has developed a number of innovative techniques for filtering influences to study how trends in air quality data may be influenced by air pollution control strategies. Chancellor, I present Dr. Karen Lunny. Dr. Gwixon Poe conducted field and laboratory studies to measure denitrification in sugarcane and cereal soils of eastern Australia and showed that substantial loss of nitrogen occurred in soils with high levels of water-soluble carbon. Chancellor, I present Dr. Gwixon Poe. Chancellor, the following graduates have been granted the degree of Doctor of Philosophy taken in the Faculty of Health, and Behavioural Sciences. Dr. Lynette Claire Hemming's thesis tells a moving story of Royal Australian Army Nursing Corps veterans and draws on the concept of collective memory to contribute to an understanding of the communalities of their memories. Chancellor, I present Dr. Lynette Claire Hemmings. Dr. Desley Joy Kasalki identified significant impacts of community-led health strategies upon exercise levels, breast health practices and structural barriers to health care. Chancellor, I present Dr. Desley Joy Kasalki. Dr. Anne Royko has identified and modelled key elements influencing the successful adoption of emerging environmental health paradigms in decision-making by researchers, administrators and policymakers in Hong Kong and Australia. Chancellor, I present Dr. Anne Royko. Dr. Michael Barry Walker examined whether giving feedback on adherence to safety rules to groups of workers would decrease the incidence of unsafe behaviours. Chancellor, I present Dr. Michael Barry Walker. Chancellor, the following graduates have been granted the degree of Doctor of Philosophy taken in the Faculty of Humanities. Dr. Cameron Keith Richards has developed and applied a new dialogical or interactive framework for Australian cultural criticism. Chancellor, I present Dr. Cameron Keith Richards. Dr. Gordon Wiley Tate's research focuses on the relations between youth and government. This involves seeing youth as a stage in life that is constructed and organised by government as a means of addressing particular problems of social management. Chancellor, I present Dr. Gordon Wiley Tate. Chancellor, the following graduates have been granted the degree of Doctor of Philosophy taken in the Faculty of Science and Technology. Dr. Tanya Ruth van den Anker investigated the preparation and properties of polymer and silica-supported Grignard-type reagents useful in the preparation of very reactive compounds. Chancellor, I present Dr. Tanya Ruth van den Anker. Dr. John Edward Downs investigated the biochemical properties of two enzymes in mammalian cornea in relation to the proposed roles in protecting eye tissues against ultraviolet radiation-induced damage. Chancellor, I present Dr. John Edward Downs. Dr. Peter Jean Harvey has investigated the Mitsunobu reaction and developed several new chemical reactions which will be useful in the synthesis of anti-cancer and anti-influenza drugs. Chancellor, I present Dr. Peter Jean Harvey. Dr. Stacey Marie Lawrence studied the chemistry of aluminium, zinc and magnesium metal hydrides and alkyls. New and unusual amido and chloxamine metal compounds were discovered. Chancellor, I present Dr. Stacey Marie Lawrence. Dr. Stephen Gregory O'Keefe developed a portable recording system to detect electromagnetic signals at quarries, mines, glaciers and in the laboratory. Chancellor, I present Dr. Stephen Gregory O'Keefe. Dr. Andrew Boyd Rock constructed experiments and computational studies which identified key factors that control the redistribution of vibrational and rotational energy at the quantum state level. Chancellor, I present Dr. Andrew Boyd Rock. Dr. Sherry Ann Taylor Moti has developed a recently verified model for the interaction of inhibitors with protein phosphatase enzymes as a means of computer-assisted molecular modelling. Chancellor, I present Dr. Sherry Ann Taylor Moti. Chancellor, that concludes the presentation of Master of Philosophy and Doctor of Philosophy graduates.
With the authority of the Council, I shall now confer the degree of Doctor of the University. I call upon the Vice-Chancellor, Professor Roy Webb, to make the presentation.
Chancellor, the Council of the University has resolved to award the degree of Doctor of the University to Dr. Germaine Greer. Germaine Greer was born in Melbourne in 1939 and educated at the Star of the Sea Convent at Gardenvale in Victoria. A gifted student, she was the recipient of a number of academic scholarships during her teenage years. At the tertiary level, she graduated from the University of Melbourne with a Bachelor of Arts in 1959, obtaining first-class honours in English. She moved to the University of Sydney, where she gained an MA with honours in 1962 and tutored in English in 1963 and 1964. Further study included a PhD from Cambridge University in 1967, followed by a period of lecturing at the University of Warwick from 1967 to 1972. It was her landmark publication of The Female Eunuch in 1969 that launched Germaine Greer as a dominant voice in Western culture. As well as topping the bestseller lists in the United States and Britain, the book sold over 90,000 copies in 2 weeks in Australia. The Female Eunuch stands as one of the classic publications of the women's liberation movement and has been influential in setting the parameters of feminist debate. The significance of this work was acknowledged in 1995 when the Sunday Telegraph in London named Germaine Greer as author of one of the 10 most influential books of the 20th century. She was the only Australian writer to receive such an accolade and one of only 2 women included in the list. Since the success of her first book, Germaine Greer has been a consistently passionate advocate of the rights of women. From 1972 to 1979, she worked as a freelance journalist, writing for the Sunday Times and contributing to such periodicals as Listener, Spectator, Oz, Rolling Stone and Esquire. Her diverse writing talents are still in great demand today, with regular contributions to The Guardian and a range of other publications, such as the street paper for the homeless, The Big Issue. In addition to her career in print medium, Germaine Greer has had a significant impact through British television. She has made numerous appearances on television, TV chat shows, and in public debates on controversial issues, and recently presented a series of late-night talk shows, The Last Word, for BBC TV. As broadcaster, columnist, critic, journalist and reviewer, she has played a major role in challenging familiar notions within our culture. Over the last 25 years, Germaine Greer has remained in the forefront of social analysis. She has undertaken systematic research on the constraints imposed on women artists, the obstacle race, 1979, and on the conditions that govern women's reproduction, sex and destiny, the politics of human fertility, 1984. Her other works include The Mad Woman's Underclothes, Essays and Occasional Writings, 1968 to 1985, published in 1986. Kissing the Rod, an anthology of 17th century women's verse, 1988. Daddy, We Hardly Knew You, 1989, and The Change, Women, Ageing and the Menopause, 1991. Germaine Greer's work has often shadowed her own life experiences, and she has used these personal insights not only to encourage open discussion and increase public awareness, but also to offer understanding to others in similar situations. The very nature of this work has led her to be labelled as radical, outspoken and provocative. More importantly, she is a brilliant and lucid social commentator. Germaine Greer is also deeply committed to the pursuit of academic excellence. She was the founding director of the Tulsa Center for the Study of Women's Literature in Oklahoma during the early 1980s and has held a number of teaching positions in England and the United States. Since 1989, she has been a special lecturer and unofficial fellow of Newnham College, Cambridge. Her current involvement with the Association of Independent Schools of Australia is an example of her continuing interest in education in this country. It is especially fitting that the Council of Griffith University should honour Germaine Greer in recognition of her many contributions to scholarship and the international community. Chancellor, it is with great pleasure that I present to you Germaine Greer for admission to the degree of Doctor of the University.
I now call upon Dr. Germaine Greer, Doctor of the University, to deliver the occasional address.
I was going to say ladies and gentlemen, and I realised how stupid it is. We don't really use these distinctions anymore, I hope. And when I talk to you, you'll see why. Because they have a specific meaning. I want to say something different, like brothers and sisters, or fellow members of the academic body that I've just joined, and their friends and relatives and all the other people here. I'd like to explain to you something about why I have found this evening an extraordinarily moving experience. And it's partly to do with the fact that I have all my life been deeply involved in elitist education. And let me tell you how elitist education works. The point of elitist education is to exclude people, because elites have to be small. You can't have a big elite by definition. So elites are particularly merciless in keeping their number small. The elite is the necessary matrix for an oligarchy, the rule of the few. Now, of course, when you're at school trying to do your best, you're not really conscious of what happens to other people. And you very early get the idea that you're doing well and being ducks of the school because you deserve it. It's a very seductive idea. And that's one reason why you won't find people who are members of oligarchies condemning the system by which they got there. But I'm perhaps a little bit different in this because I was always a teacher. And I was very aware when I taught at girls' high schools in the suburbs of Sydney, or girls' grammar schools or convent schools, that the system was terribly unjust, that it was giving people the idea very early on when they were still very small that they were failures, that what I was involved in was a culture of failure. I did my best to break it down when I was teaching by trying to imply that my E stream, who were supposed to be impenetrably stupid, just were not verbal, that they had all kinds of skills, and that my job as an educator was to draw out of them the talents they had, not to continually impress upon them every day the lack of talent that was assumed to be the case. And so I did something rather naughty with their dossiers we used to have on them. I managed to lose them, so that their IQs became a matter of conjecture ever after, which can only be a good thing, I think. You have to forgive me, it was a piece of direct action which was thoroughly unprofessional, but I was only a supply teacher at the time. And that's what you get when you have education departments that rely on untrained supply teachers. Again, not always a bad thing. And then, of course, I went on to become a university teacher, and I went to Cambridge. I won a Commonwealth Scholarship. And all the time I was flying along, trying to get into the very top echelons of the elite, dimly aware that they weren't too pleased with the fact that I was of the wrong gender, which was particularly apparent when I got to Cambridge. But the real iniquity of the system didn't strike me until I was a teacher myself at Warwick University, and I had to examine university entrance forms. And they had already been through some sort of clearinghouse, but when I got them, I was only allowed to suggest one candidate in 13 for interview. Now, if you think about the maths, there weren't enough differentials to make that just. It would have been juster if we'd said that everybody could come who got 3 A's or 2 A's and a B or something like that. But instead we played God, and we read these rambling accounts of the students' behaviour with the headmaster's comments, long hair, undisciplined and so on. And what made it even more haphazard was that I would go for them. I would think they'd be good at a university, but the chap sitting next to me would go for short back and sides and a boy every time. So that a situation that was already unjust, in the way that we carried it out, became completely random. It would have been more just if we'd said only redheads need apply to this university. And it got to the stage where I couldn't bear it, because I knew, meeting other people outside the university, that people who had fell at the many hurdles, any of the many hurdles set in their way, whether it was the 11 plus or their GCEs or their A-levels, I'm talking about the English system, always thought that it was because they were no good. It never occurred to them to question the system. And it was particularly hurtful when you met people who said, I wasn't good enough to get into university. And I would think, what would you believe me if I tried to explain to you that being good enough has absolutely nothing to do with it? What kind of an uproar would there have been if the system had been exposed for what it is, and I think, alas, still continues to be, even though we've had an enormous expansion in tertiary education and we have absorbed the polytechnics into the university structure, the basic inequity in the system is still there. And so it was tremendously exciting for me to realise that yet again, in Australia, somebody had had a good idea. And that was to set up a university which took as its duty the duty of accessibility, which took very seriously the idea that you taught people what they wanted to know, instead of demanding that they wear some kind of academic straitjacket and study proper subjects. In my universities, it was difficult even to get cross-discipline between, say, Italian and English literature. That would have taken an act of parliament at the time that I was trying to do it. Now, that situation has changed, but nowhere has it changed more radically than at Griffith, as I saw this evening. You didn't see, perhaps as I did, the joy on the faces of the graduates, which is really what the name of the game is. Actually, there was a bit of sex differentiation there, which I found very interesting. The chaps were all trying to be really tough and not show that they felt any joy at all. And just a certain trembling of the cheeks gave the situation away occasionally. But the women's faces were alight with pride and joy, very proper pride and joy. And if I have any misgiving about my doctorate of this university, it's possibly because I have a thought that I haven't really deserved it. Because the truth is, I am hooked on the elitist system. Now, I realise it's a bad thing, like heroin might be a bad thing. I love books and dusty libraries. I love reading 17th century manuscripts. I love poking and pottering around with my 17th century women poets. But I don't imagine for 1 minute that this activity is superior to any of the activities we've heard described tonight. In fact, it's a good deal less useful than looking at denitrification in soils, or looking at the nature of deposited dusts, or investigating valuable proteins. All these things have obvious applications. My women poets have some applications to women's history and women's pride in themselves, but they're a curious group of people. I just happen to be fascinated by them the way that other people are fascinated by stamps. And I don't think that any student who decides to come and work with me has made some kind of noble or superior decision. I am aware that my attachment to Cambridge is in the nature of a vice, a sort of addiction. I like college silver. I like the architecture. I even like university feasts. And you've got to imagine, they are so insane. You have to imagine all of us sitting there by candlelight, as if electricity hadn't yet been invented, wearing our orders. You wear full canonicals to these things. So I might be sitting next to a bishop in gaiters with silver buckles and a purple stock, and on the other side a knight commander of the British Empire, remember that? With his jewelled pendant hanging at his neck. And on those occasions one wears one's full canonicals, and I shall be very pleased to wear the gown of Griffith University. And I can hear these people saying, "Oh, and what might that be? I don't think I've seen that garden before." And I shall say, well, this is the gown of Griffith University in Queensland, Australia. Get it? This is black for the people, yellow for the sun, and red for the earth. And he will say to me, "Honoris causa, I presume," and I'll say, "Bet your life." So let me just say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. This is an honour. I shall treasure them more because I doubt that I really deserve it. Thank you so much.
Try the other one. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure, on behalf of this enormous congregation, the largest ceremony that Griffith has ever held, to thank our distinguished guest speaker for her splendid address. And in doing so, I'm aware that in view of its eloquence and structure and brevity, I must speak for shorter length than Dr. Greer has. Not many of us will find our names, if we were there to find them, in histories of the 20th century, when the 20th century is being looked back upon from 500 years hence or whenever. Perhaps no one in this auditorium except Germaine Greer. And I think, ladies and gentlemen, it's an enormous honour to have her here with us today. But isn't it a special honour, Griffarians, to hear the way that Dr. Greer has spoken about us? I must say I've found it very moving and wonderfully rewarding for all that has been contributed to Griffith by those who've worked for us over many years and continue to work for us and with us. So thank you, Dr. Greer. We're glad you've joined our Alumni Association. Thank you. But I take this opportunity, as I always do, to thank, to ask all our graduates to join our Alumni Association, to carry on as Griffith graduates through your entire careers, drawing attention to what you've found at Griffith and had contributed to your future careers through the efforts of the university and contributing to the good name of the university in whatever situation you find yourself. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, the ceremony is now concluded. When the fanfares begin, please rise and remain standing as the dais party, the staff procession and the graduates retire.